Let me ask you something. When was the last time you thought about your breath? I mean, really thought about it. Most of us don't. And yet, we take over 20,000 breaths a day. That's more than 20,000 chances to regulate our body, calm our mind, and connect with our inner world. But we miss nearly all of them. Now here's a crazy truth. Breathing is the only function in the human body that is both automatic and under conscious control. Your heart beats, your digestion happens, but you can't will your heart to stop or your stomach to pause. Yet with your breath, you can take control at any time. And that simple fact makes it the most powerful doorway into your nervous system. I remember the first time I discovered this. I was preparing for a big presentation. My hands were shaking, my voice unsteady, and my mind was racing. A mentor of mine told me, just sit down, breathe deeply 30 times, hold the last breath, and let your body reset. I thought it sounded silly, but I tried it, and something shifted. My body felt grounded, my mind was still. And when I walked on stage, I was fully present. What most people don't realize is that shallow breathing is a stress signal. It tells your brain something is wrong, brace for danger, and your brain obeys. It pumps cortisol, raises your heart rate, tightens your muscles. But deep breathing does the opposite. It signals safety, balance, and control. That's why elite athletes, monks, and special forces all train their breath. Because it's not just air, it's instruction. There was a study where participants did simple breath work before physical tests. One man could do 15 push-ups before. After 30 deep breaths, he did 40. No additional training. Just oxygen and focus. That's what happens when your breath and body are in sync. But here's the mistake most of us make. We think breathing is passive, something automatic, something we don't need to learn. And that's where we lose touch with a natural tool that was built into us from the very beginning. Think about it. The very first thing you did when you came into this world was inhale. And the very last thing you'll do is exhale. That makes your breath not just a biological process, but a personal story. It's the rhythm of your life. So tomorrow morning, before the noise of the world pulls you in, try this. Sit down. No phone, no distractions. Just you and your breath. Inhale deeply, 30 times. On the last breath, hold it. Not with tension, but with ease. Hold it for a minute. Then exhale and listen. Listen to the silence that follows. That silence is you, coming home. Your breath is not a background function. It's the most accessible, most powerful tool you have. And the best part? It's always with you. Now let's talk about something we all experience but few of us understand. Emotions. What do you usually do when a wave of emotion comes up? Do you ignore it? Do you try to push it down? Do you label it as bad or inconvenient? Most of us do. Because somewhere along the way we were taught that emotions are weakness, that crying makes us fragile, that anger must be hidden, that sadness should be kept private. But what if that's completely backward? What if your emotions aren't enemies to avoid, but messengers to understand? Think of emotions as energy in motion. That's literally what the word means. Emotion. Energy that wants to move through you. And when it moves, it teaches you something. But when it gets stuck, it builds. It ferments. And that's when it becomes pain. Anxiety is not random. It's your body saying something feels unsafe. Sadness is not brokenness. It's your body asking for pause, for reflection. Even anger is not evil. It's often a boundary being crossed, a value being violated. I'll share a story. A few years ago, I was going through a difficult season. I kept telling myself, stay strong, keep going, push forward. But inside, I felt heavy. One day during a breathwork session, I allowed myself to stop fighting. I didn't analyze or judge. I just breathed and felt, and I cried for minutes, not because I was weak, but because, for the first time in months, I let myself listen. And afterward, I felt clearer, not fixed, just real. The mistake we often make is trying to control or silence our emotions. But emotions aren't problems to solve. They're signals to read, like traffic lights on the road. You don't ignore a red light. You pause, you look, you respond. Emotions work the same way. If you constantly run past them, eventually, something crashes. And here's the beautiful part. Your breath is the decoder. When emotion floods in, and your mind wants to run away, bring your breath in. Deep inhale, slow exhale. That rhythm slows the storm. And in that calm, you can ask the most important question: what is this emotion trying to tell me? Next time you feel anxious, don't ask, how do I get rid of this? Ask, what part of me needs attention? When you shift that question, you shift your relationship with yourself. Your emotions are not flaws. They are feedback. They're not proof you're out of control. They're proof you're alive. And when you learn to listen, you unlock a level of inner wisdom no textbook or teacher can give you. So the next time you feel heavy or restless, try this. Sit quietly. Place one hand on your chest, one on your belly. Breathe deeply, and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Not to judge, just to notice. That simple act can change your whole day. Because the moment you stop fighting your feelings is the moment you start befriending yourself. Here's something that might surprise you. Most of your daily actions, decisions, and reactions are not conscious. According to neuroscience, up to 90% of what we do every day is driven by habit, by patterns we repeat without thinking. We brush our teeth, check our phones, reach for coffee, respond to stress, all without presence. And that's where the danger lies. Because what you're not aware of, you can't change. What you ignore silently controls you. Let me give you an example. I once worked with a man in his 40s. He was struggling with chronic neck and back pain. He'd tried everything: chiropractors, stretching, even medication. Nothing helped. But during one coaching session, we noticed something. Every time he talked about work, his jaw clenched. His shoulders tightened. He had no idea it was happening. His pain wasn't just physical. It was habitual tension, a loop his body had repeated for years without awareness. And once he saw it, he could start to shift it. Not overnight, but with mindfulness, with breath, with new awareness. His pain began to fade. That's the power of noticing. It's like driving a car with dirty windows. You can keep guessing what's ahead, but until you clean the glass, you're always reacting late. Awareness is the cleaning. It brings clarity. And with clarity comes choice. Too often, we rush to fix the symptom. We treat the stress, the sleep problem, the anger. But we don't ask the deeper question. What's underneath this? What pattern is playing out? What belief is running in the background? One simple awareness practice I use is a daily check-in. Just 5 minutes. I ask myself, what's happening in my body right now? Am I holding tension in my stomach, my chest, my jaw? What emotion is here, even if I can't name it? I don't try to fix it. I just observe. And here's the beautiful irony. The more I pay attention without judgment, the more my body begins to shift on its own. Awareness isn't a quick fix, but it's the beginning of every meaningful transformation. Because before you can heal, you have to see. Before you can change, you have to notice. So today, take a moment, pause, breathe, scan your body, your thoughts, your inner state. That moment of noticing might seem small, but it could be the start of something powerful. Because awareness is the first medicine, and it's available to you right now. Let's talk about something most of us spend our lives avoiding: discomfort. We've built an entire world designed to keep us comfortable. Air conditioning, instant food, soft beds, digital entertainment at the tap of a screen. And while there's nothing wrong with comfort itself, it has quietly stolen something important from us. It's stolen our edge, our resilience, our capacity to grow. Because here's the truth: nothing meaningful happens inside the comfort zone. Muscles grow under tension. Courage grows under pressure. Wisdom grows through challenge. Think about the most meaningful breakthroughs in your life. Were they born from ease, or were they born from struggle? The answer is almost always the same. One of the most powerful tools I've ever discovered is cold exposure. And not just for the physical benefits. I remember stepping into my first ice bath. The shock hit instantly. My chest tightened. My breath shortened. My mind screamed, "Get out!" Everything in me wanted to escape. But I stayed. I breathed. And something remarkable happened. The panic began to quiet. My breath found rhythm. My body adapted. And in that stillness, I found something I didn't know. I had the ability to stay present inside discomfort. It taught me a lesson far beyond the cold, that I could handle more than I thought. That discomfort wasn't danger, it was a teacher. And that's the mistake most people make. We assume discomfort means something is wrong, but often it means something is growing. Growth doesn't feel like growth when it's happening. It feels like resistance, like fear, like fatigue. But on the other side is strength, confidence, breakthrough. So how do you train this muscle of discomfort? Start small. Take a cold shower. Speak up in that meeting. Say no when it feels scary. Sit in silence when you want distraction. These are not punishments. They are practice. Practice for real life, for challenge, for resilience. And the more you build that muscle, the more you realize you are capable of far more than you imagined. Because comfort might feel safe, but discomfort builds strength. And your life, your real life, begins the moment you're willing to get uncomfortable. In today's world, we're taught that control is everything. Control your schedule, control your image, control your future. And so we push, we strive, we grip life tightly, believing that the tighter we hold on, the safer we are. But what if I told you, real strength doesn't come from holding on. It comes from knowing when to let go. Surrender is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's the quiet courage to release what you can't control and trust what's unfolding. Let me tell you about a moment that changed how I see surrender. I was in a cold plunge, and everything in my body was resisting. My heart pounded, my breath turned sharp, and my mind went into panic mode. Every part of me wanted out. But then I remembered what I'd been taught to stop fighting. So I let go. Not in defeat, but in trust. I took a deep breath, softened my shoulders, and allowed myself to be there. And just like that, the panic melted. Calmness took its place. That moment taught me something profound. That often, the pain isn't in the experience, it's in the resistance. The same applies in life. I've had seasons where I tried to force answers, force clarity, force outcomes. I chased, I planned, I obsessed. But the more I pushed, the more things fell apart. And only when I paused, breathed, and surrendered did things begin to align. Not always the way I expected, but always in the way I needed. The mistake most of us make is thinking we can control everything. But control is an illusion. What we can do is respond. What we can do is breathe. What we can do is choose presence over pressure. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you take aligned action and then release the outcome. It means you trust that life is not against you. It's working with you even when it doesn't feel like it. So next time you find yourself in a storm, mental, emotional, or physical, ask yourself, am I making this harder by holding on too tight? And then try softening. Try breathing. Try letting go. Just a little. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is trust the process. We live in a world that worships intelligence, test scores, degrees, complex plans. And while knowledge is valuable, It's not the only kind of power. There's a quiet force that's often overlooked: intention. A clear intention is more transformative than a perfect plan. Because when you know what you want to feel, your entire body begins to adjust itself toward that state. This isn't just philosophy, it's science. Neuroscientists call it interoception, your ability to sense and influence your internal state. Think of it like tuning a radio. When you are clear about the station you want, your body becomes better at tuning in. Let me give you an example. For a long time, I told myself, I just want to stop feeling anxious. That was my goal. Stop the anxiety. But the more I focused on anxiety, the more it stayed. Until one day, I shifted my intention. Instead of stop anxiety, I said, I want to feel grounded. That shift changed everything. My breath slowed. My posture softened. I was no longer fighting a symptom. I was inviting a state. The mistake many people make is that they focus on what they don't want. I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel tired. I don't want to be afraid. But the brain doesn't process negation the way we think. When you focus on the unwanted, you give it more energy. Clarity means deciding what you do want: peace, focus, joy, courage, and then reinforcing that intention through breath, through movement, through language. Here's a practice I use every morning. Before checking messages, before engaging the outside world, I ask myself, what is the energy I want to carry today? Not what I need to do, but how I want to feel while doing it. Do I want to feel light, steady, open? From there, I breathe that feeling in. I let it guide how I walk, how I speak, how I show up. Because when you set the tone, life tends to harmonize with it. So don't wait until things are perfect. Start with clarity. Name what you want. Breathe it. Move with it. And let your body, mind, and choices begin to follow. Because a single clear intention can take you further than 1,000 scattered thoughts. The cold has no favorites. It doesn't care about your title, your background, your wealth, or your status. It doesn't negotiate, doesn't flatter, doesn't wait for you to be ready. The cold simply asks one question: will you face yourself, or will you run? That's what makes cold exposure so powerful. It strips everything away. It doesn't allow you to pretend. In the cold, your breath becomes raw, your thoughts become loud, your body becomes honest. And in that space, you meet the real you. I remember my first time stepping into an ice bath. The moment my body touched the water, I panicked. My chest tightened. My mind said, get out now. But I had a guide next to me. He looked at me and said, breathe. That's all. Just breathe. So I did. One breath, then another. And then something shifted. The cold was still there, but I was no longer afraid of it. I was with it. And in that moment, I realized the cold wasn't trying to hurt me. It was simply reflecting me, my reactions, my fear, my strength, my breath. It was a mirror, showing me where I resist and where I surrender. Life is like that too. Difficult moments, uncomfortable emotions, unexpected challenges, they are cold water. And they ask us the same thing. Will you fight this and panic? Or will you breathe and stay? The mistake people make with discomfort is that they think it's punishment. But discomfort is often the most honest feedback we receive. It says, here is where you're growing. Here is what you haven't faced yet. And most importantly, here is what you are capable of if you stay with it. You don't need to chase cold, but you do need to learn how to meet it. Whether it comes as physical challenge, emotional weight, or life transition, the practice is the same. Breathe. Stay. Notice. Because when everything is stripped away, what remains is who you are. We often grow up believing that someone else will rescue us. A doctor will fix the pain. A teacher will fix our confusion. A partner will fix our loneliness. And we wait We hope, we search. But what if the one you've been waiting for is you? Inside your body, there is a healing system more advanced than any machine. It knows how to mend wounds, calm the nervous system, balance your chemistry. And the most beautiful part is it responds to attention, not just medical attention, but your attention, your breath, your presence, your willingness to feel. I've seen people transform their anxiety, rebuild trust with their body, and even reduce chronic symptoms not through magic, but through reconnection. They stopped outsourcing their healing, and they started listening inward. I remember working with a woman who struggled with emotional burnout. She had read all the self-help books, tried all the supplements, seen multiple therapists, but she was still exhausted. When I asked her, when was the last time you simply sat with yourself, not to fix anything, but to just be, she went quiet. She didn't remember. So we started small. Each morning, just 5 minutes of breath, stillness, and feeling. At first, it felt strange, but after a week, she said something shifted. Not everything was solved, but something inside felt alive again. That's the healer waking up. The mistake we often make is believing healing has to come from outside. But true healing is not something you receive. It's something you participate in. You already have the tools. Breath, awareness, stillness, compassion. These are not fancy concepts. They are ancient truths, living quietly inside you. So instead of asking who will heal me, ask, how can I reconnect with the part of me that already knows how to heal? Because you don't need permission to begin. You just need presence. And once you reconnect with that inner healer, you'll never forget who you are again. So let's take a moment to breathe and remember what we've explored together. Your breath is not just a biological reflex. It's the doorway to your power. It's how you calm the storm, center your focus, and reconnect with your truest self. Your emotions are not flaws to be fixed. They are messages, signals. They show you what matters, what hurts, what needs love, if you're willing to listen. Your awareness is the beginning of every shift. When you start noticing what's happening inside, your life outside begins to change. Discomfort isn't a punishment, it's a teacher. Every time you step into challenge, you step closer to strength, clarity, and confidence. Surrender isn't about weakness, it's about wisdom. It's choosing to let go of control so you can finally flow with what is. Intention is not wishful thinking, it's a compass. And when you choose how you want to feel, your mind and body begin to organize around that choice. The cold in water and emotion in life is a mirror. It shows you what you're made of, and if you stay long enough, it shows you something even deeper, that you are enough. And finally, healing is not waiting for someone else to save you. Healing begins the moment you say yes to yourself. When you stop running, stop hiding, and start remembering who you are. All of this, the power, the clarity, the healing, does not come from outside. It starts within, always within. So here's your invitation. Tomorrow morning, before anything else, before the noise, before the scrolling, before the rush, pause. Sit in silence. Take 30 deep breaths. Hold the last one gently. Exhale slowly and feel. You don't need to fix anything. You just need to return. And if something shifts inside you, even just a little, share that. Because maybe, just maybe, someone out there is holding their breath, waiting for a sign. And your voice, your story, your presence could be that sign. You are not here to just get through life. You are here to live it fully, deeply, consciously. And the most beautiful truth is this: everything begins from within you.